Hi, everybody. This is Marlene Pellicer with Eerie News, and today is March 29th, 2022. I know I've been out a couple of days, but I had some pending, demanding business to take care of, but here we are, back with news of the unusual, mysterious, weird, you name it. Let's get on to the first one, and this is out of Epic Times, and it's titled Discovery of Victorian-Era Data Suggests Extreme Weather Events Not New. Data taken from handwritten 130-year-old rainfall observations from Met Office archives has revealed that extreme weather events are nothing new. United Kingdom's National Weather Service, the Met Office, published the data on Friday. This is the previous Friday that just passed, gained from millions of archived rainfall records. But long-standing environmentalism skeptics told the Epoch Times that this further undermines the case that climate change is driving extreme weather events. The Rainfall Rescue Project was launched by the University of Reading in March 2020, which used the help of 16,000 volunteers to help digitally transcribe 130 years worth of handwritten rainfall observations from the Met Office archives. This increased the amount of pre-1960 observation data available for climate scientists and researchers by sixfold. The detailed accounts of the amount of rain that fell go back to 1836, the year Charles Darwin returned to the UK on the Beagle with Vice Admiral Robert Fitzroy, and a year before Queen Victoria took to the throne. The results revealed the UK's driest ever year on record is 1855. The third wettest month is December of 1852 in Cumbria, and November of the same year, the wettest month on record for many parts of southern England. But after reading the Victorian dataset, environmentalism skeptic Ben Pyle, co-founder of the Climate Resistance blog, told the Epoch Times by email that the Met's Office new extended dataset, quote, shows us what many have been trying to tell the Met Office and its scientists for a long time. Real-world data is far more important than computer simulation, and real data shows that we faced warmer, colder, wetter, drier, and windier conditions in the past, and that we grew better at coping with these challenges, end quote. He continued, the hundreds of millions of pounds the Met Office have spent on supercomputers to try to detect humanity's influence on the climate was a waste of money. We know that weather in the British Isles is extremely variable, and even if they could detect trends, they would be of little value to planners. The historical record debunks climate alarmism and shows us that we should rely on facts from reality, not on computer games, he added. In terms of linking climate linked to extreme weather, the Met Office noted that there is evidence of a human contribution to changes in temperature extremes, heavy rainfall events, and an increase in extreme high sea levels in a number of regions. It added that attribution science, the practice of linking weather events to human-influenced climate change, is adding to this evidence all the time. Professor Ed Hawkins, Rainfall Rescue Project lead and climate scientist at the University of Reading, said that as well as being a fascinating glimpse into the past, the new data allows a longer and more detailed picture of variations in monthly rainfall, which will aid new scientific research 2 centuries on. He added that it also increases our understanding of weather extremes and flood risks across the UK and Ireland, and helps us better understand the long-term trends towards dramatic changes we're seeing today. However, Andrew Montford, Deputy Director of the Global Warming Policy Forum, told the Epoch Times by email that he believed that there is very little evidence that extreme weather events are becoming worse, and even less than any changes are out with what would be expected from the large natural variability. The UK-based critical think tank on climate and energy policy was founded by former Conservative Chancellor Nigel Lawson. I have no idea what Professor Hawkins is talking about when he mentions dramatic changes. There is little in the UK weather data that merits such a language, added Montfort. The Epoch Times contacted Hawkins for a comment. Paper records studied by rainfall rescue volunteers contain observations between 1677 and 1960, based on rain gauges located in almost every town and village across England and Wales. One gauge included in the transcription was located next to Beatrix Potter's Hilltop Farm in the Lake District, where she wrote many of her most famous books. Met Office spokesman Graham Madge said that to try and use the unearthed Victorian data to state that climate change isn't happening or that we have seen more extremes in the past compared to what we are seeing now is not the case. He added that the Met Office had indications of rainfall becoming considerably more intense on average. We've always had rainfall, we will always will, but there is a broader alignment that a warmer atmosphere can hold more moisture. Therefore, we look for the trend to show increasing rainfall associated with climate change. We're beginning to see the fingerprint of climate change in the rainfall record. But given the natural variation of the UK rainfall record, it's harder, more challenging to see that signal, but it's still there, said Match. And I think that's very interesting because you hear sometimes very contradictory information as to climate change. Is it accurate? Is it not accurate? Is it severe or not as severe? Is it impacted by humans or not, or both? And you know what? When you've been alive a little bit longer, like myself, I remember back in the 1970s, I was a little kid. I heard somebody talk about it and it reminded me. Back then, they were giving out, how can I say, pre-warning that we were going to go into a mini ice age. This is back in the early 70s. I had forgotten about it, but I was a little kid kind of at that time. But I do remember when somebody mentioned it, I said, oh my God, I do remember that. And then fast forward a few years, now it's the other way around. So sometimes the only thing I can say about that report, that the length of time and the amount of records that they added sixfold, because a lot of times, whether it's the weather or any other subject that they say we have done a study, sometimes you have to look at what's included in the study. How long did they do it for? How big is the pool of information they're pulling from? Sometimes you'd be surprised some of these studies are very shallow. They're saying it's a study, but it's not really. But considering what they're describing, that is a very good study as far as a pool of knowledge or records that they're pulling their conclusions from. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, staying on the Earth interest point here. This is again from Epoch Times. This is Azores volcanic island hit by thousands of quakes starts evacuations as fears grow. And as everybody knows, the Azores are right off the by Portugal, by the Iberian Peninsula. They're right off the coast there. And it reads, Lisbon, authorities on a mid-Atlantic Portuguese island hit by thousands of small earthquakes in recent days started evacuating people living at the bottom of coastal cliffs on Thursdays as fears of a stronger tremor or volcanic eruption grow. Since Saturday, over 2,000 earthquakes with a magnitude of between 1.6 and 3.3 have been recorded on the volcanic island of São Jorge in the Azores archipelago, according to the region Civisa Seismovolcanic Surveillance Center. The small quakes, which have caused no damage so far, were reported along the island's volcanic fissure of Manadas, which last erupted in 1808. A big earthquake hit the island in 1980, causing severe damage. Civisa has raised the volcanic alert to level 4 out of 5, meaning there is a real possibility of eruption, and said the number of earthquakes was above normal levels. Those in hospital or in care homes in the municipality of Velas, which is likely to be the most affected area, have already been transferred to Cajeta on the other side of the island. The mayor of Velas, Luis Silveira, said on Wednesday plans to evacuate the rest of the population to Cajeta or to other islands would only be activated if needed. A spokesperson for the municipality told Reuters, those living in the island's so-called fajas, small plains originally created by lava or landslides at the bottom of cliffs, would be preventatively evacuated. There are around 40 fajas in São Jorge. The evacuation comes after the Azores archipelago activated its emergency plan. São Jorge, one of the 9 islands that make up the Azores, is home to about 8,400 people and is part of the archipelago's central group, which includes the popular tourist destination of File and Pico, which are also volcanic. Azores President José Manuel Boleiro visited São Jorge on Thursday morning and said everything was prepared to evacuate people, adding the government was also working to increase the number of commercial flights. Authorities have also told residents where to go in case of need and said alerts would be sent to the population using social media, the local radio station, and by ringing the island's church bells. Hey, the internet goes down, you can hear the church bells. That's all I got to say. You know what? As alarming as this is, you think about maybe in the past where sometimes the inhabitants of all things an island had little or no, I mean, maybe they had the rumbles, and because some of these earthquakes sometimes, or volcanoes, they'll rumble, but they don't erupt. And then you think of ancient times, Pompeii, all those other things, but at least they have, by the way, all these strange noises. Besides, my phone is, I'm reading the news to you in the middle of the day, and I have a lot of exotic birds, as you can hear. But hey, that is such is life. But yes, I would think that in modern times, hopefully this will avoid. In other words, there's enough time to evacuate people, and especially if somebody that's infirm, that's homebound, whatever the case might be. So definitely, but something to keep an eye on. Let's go now to something a little bit weirder. Just a little bit. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see. Now, let's see if it. Let me go over here. Sometimes, okay. Now this is when what I call when a cold case goes hot. All right, this is out of the Mercury News, and it's titled "San Carlos: Woman Arrested in Connection with Cold Case Homicide from Nearly 30 Years Ago." All right, this is very interesting. Corner store owner Shuming Tang was shot and killed April 26, 1993, police said. Nearly 30 years after Shuming Tang was fatally shot inside his landmark San Carlos store, authorities say they have found his killer more than 1,700 miles away in Oklahoma. Tang's killing rocked the small San Mateo County city and was featured on America's Most Wanted without leading to a suspect. But on Thursday, the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office announced 61-year-old Oklahoma resident Reina Elizabeth Hoffman Ramos, who lived in San Mateo at the time of the shooting, has been arrested for the killing. Mr. Tang was a husband, a father, and a friend who came to the United States to provide a better life for his family, said San Carlos Mayor Sarah McDowell at the news conference. His death shook the community of San Carlos and has remained a topic of discussion over the years. Authorities wouldn't say what led them to arrest Hoffman Ramos. Tang was shot inside the store just before 1 p.m. on April 26, 1993, in what investigators believed was a robbery gone wrong, according to San Mateo County Sheriff's Office Lieutenant Jacob Trickett at the news conference. Police arrived at the store and found Tang unresponsive and suffering from a single gunshot wound. Tang was taken to a hospital where he later died. Investigators discovered a woman was seen leaving the store shortly after the shooting. Trickett said, detectives conducted an investigation and followed up on leads, but the case went cold for about 29 years, attracting national attention and was featured on a segment on America's Most Wanted. In 2018, San Mateo County Sheriff's detectives, crime analysts, and cold case investigators revisited the investigation and identified a person of interest living in Washington County, Oklahoma. Detectives went to Oklahoma March 16th and arrested Hoffman Ramos, according to authorities. Police shared the news of the arrest with Tang's family. Hoffman Ramos was booked on a first-degree murder charge and is in custody in Washington County Jail awaiting extradition to San Mateo County, police said. The suspect was originally described as a woman in her 20s with medium brown straight hair past her shoulders and was last seen leaving the store in a faded blue 1970 station wagon, according to reporting by this news organization, the Mercury News, in 1993. Trickett declined to specify the methods police used to connect Hoffman Ramos to the homicide, but said she is believed to have acted alone. Hoffman Ramos has a prior criminal record, he said. We owe it to the families and victims, however long it takes, to give some measure of justice, Trickett said. Cold case unit investigators and crime analysts revisit cold cases and consider advancements in technology, changes in relationships over time, new leads, and increased public interest and support, according to Trickett. The San Mateo County Sheriff's Office would like to thank the Tang family for their support, said Sheriff Carlos Bolanos. I hope that your family will finally get the justice and closure that you deserve. Chung Soon, the current owner of Devonshire Little Store, bought the store from Tang's wife in July of 1993. Soon immigrated to the U.S. from Taiwan, with his son and daughter and said he was hoping to live in San Carlos to give his children a good education. He runs the store with his wife, Anne. And there's that little. We all came from Taiwan, so I heard something bad happened to the store, and I came here to tell Mrs. Tang about my feelings and to comfort her. He said, she talked to me and said she couldn't do the store anymore. She understood that I just came from Taiwan and said this store is good for a beginner to do business, to live in this country. So I took her advice and took this business. Soon said he last spoke with Tang's wife, who moved to Los Angeles after her husband's death 5 years ago, and that Tang's daughter Stephanie lives in the North Bay. Soon is the fourth owner of the mom and pop store, which sells grocery items including beer, wine, and candy. I couldn't say I'm happy or not. I just say that finally we got justice for this murder that happened in my store. Soon said, why did you kill a person who doesn't even know English? And this store didn't even have that much money for her to take. This broke the entire family. I want to know more. I would like to know. I'm very interested to see how, after so many years, they came up with this lady, especially after she, obviously she left to Oklahoma. And contrary, we always think of these stick-ups and these robberies by men. Here's a lone woman going in there to obviously hold them up. It even shoots the person. So I want to follow up on this and see how it was that after so many years, the cold case investigators came up with her, because that's very interesting. And staying with the Mercury news, this is another one which I found was really interesting. Body found in wall at Kaiser Convention Center in Oakland. All right. Alameda County Sheriff's Office spokesperson, this individual was likely there for several years. I'm telling you. Sometimes you go to some places and there's a funny or bad smell and you're like, where's that coming from? Maybe this is a reason. Anyway, Oakland. A decayed body was found at the Henry J. Kaiser Convention Center in Oakland on Wednesday, authorities said. Contractors working inside the center made the grisly discovery about 1 p.m., said Oakland police spokesperson Kim Armstead. Upon arrival, officers located what appears to be a deceased adult male in late stages of decay, Armstead said. Alameda County Sheriff Sergeant Ray Kelly confirmed reports that the body was found inside a wall and had likely been there for several years. The Oakland Police Department Homicide Section went to the scene to begin an investigation, Armstead said. The identity of the victim is unknown at this time and pending further forensics testing, Armstead said. The Henry J. Kaiser Convention Center opened in 1915, but has been closed since 2005. Orton Development is working to redevelop the center with rehabbed event spaces and an auditorium turned co-working space for arts and nonprofit organizations. They're asking anyone with information to contact the Oakland Police Department. So, it's been around for over 100 years, built in 1915, but it's been closed since 2005, which means for the last 17 years, it's been closed. But I don't think about it. If you want to stash a body, what better place than a place that's closed down and that nobody goes in there? I think about it. If you put yourself in the shoes of somebody trying to stash a body, that might be a good place. Maybe nobody would go in there for months. Probably, I imagine it was shuttered down, or let me see if I can find this one until it comes up. Or no trespassing. And all they had to do was, we just need to find a way to get in there and, put this body in wherever it is. I'm going to follow up on that. Okay, this is on Realtor.com, and it talks about this. Is this Arizona home of a legendary cowboy artist really haunted? All right. Now, the artist in question is a man by the name of Lon McGarkey. By the way, I had never heard of him. And for those of you watching the video, this is a picture of Ron, and you could tell by his paintings or his artwork, he did a lot of Western themed type of art. Very nice, by the way. I like his style. Anyway, let's get back to the story. No key is needed to unlock the front door of this $3.5 million historic home in the Arizona town of Paradise Valley. They're a throwback to artist Lon McGarkey, who built this home and studio in 1928. Known for his paintings of a desert landscape, American Indians, and cowboys, McGarkey died in 1960, but his presence still looms large in this fascinating home. The front doors themselves are just the first showstopper because they're wooden with glass panes. If you look, oops, I am it. If you look at the front, you notice there's no lock, so you can't use a key on those front doors, explains listing agent Marianne Bazan with Arizona Best Real Estate. When you close it from the inside, there's an iron bar that hangs from one of the doors and fits over a loop on the other door to secure it. Oh, wow. In other words, you can bar yourself inside, but on the outside, uh, okay, the unique latching mechanism is just one of the original features in the 4,061 square foot Adobe house. Others include the fortress-like walls. The hallmark of Adobe is to build very thick walls. Some of these walls are 30 inches thick in the main house, and you can see in some of the windows just how thick some of the walls are. Today, the exterior is preserved with stucco, and most of the interiors are treated with milk paint. Previous owners did leave a small rectangular square in the house with exposed adobe, just as a little reminder of what the house really is, she adds. Yeah, I guess on the outside. Yeah, look at that. Say, uh-huh. Oh, very nice. Very nice house. Inside, the flagstone floors and many of the fireplaces are original. Wood used throughout the house was sourced from old bridges. Nice. The main home has 3 bedrooms and there's a detached 1 bedroom guest house. A loft area once served as McGarkey's art studio. Many of his paintings are on display in the state capitol building. And previous owners saved the home from destruction in the 1980s, according to the real estate agent. They handed it over to subsequent owners who have taken pains to preserve the home. The current buyers are absolutely in love with this home, she says. They own a number of historic properties and understand what it means to own a property that has its quirks like this one does. McGarkey came to Arizona when he was 13 and worked as a cowboy. Later, he became an artist and painted the desert landscape and other local subjects. He was quite the ladies' man and married at least 7 times, according to local lore. He built this home, which he named Casa del Sol, for one of his many wives named Lily. She remained in the house after the divorce and it stayed in her family for years. Very nice. The original gate is still there and the header has Casa del Sol carved into it. McGarkey also built Casa Hermosa nearby, which is now a hotel called the Hermosa Inn. There are reports McGarkey haunts the Hermosa Inn, where guests and staff say they have seen him moving around wearing a cowboy hat. The real estate agent hopefully notes that Casa del Sol may also be home to a wandering spirit. The current owner says he hasn't seen any apparitions, but he has heard classical music playing and what sounds like a one note, like a violin string, she says. Many of a wandering spirit did not dampen interest in this unique property. Interesting. And let me tell you, if at that, if in the 1980s there was a possibility of this uh, structure was going to be condemned or destroyed, you could tell the interior, somebody along the lines after who took it over spent quite a lot of money to redo it because it's absolutely beautiful. Because if they're about to destroy it or condemn it, it must have been a very poor, uh, you know, like, in other words, condemned. So that's very interesting. If I can, here we go. Now we are on to another article. The Dyatlov Pass mystery may have just been solved by new video evidence. This is out of Vice. And I'm sure, I don't know, the Dyatlov Pass mysteries, God, it's been around for so long. And it's one of these things that most people, they've come up with theories, but I haven't really heard something conclusive on it. The mysterious deaths of 9 Russian hikers more than 60 years ago have defied explanation and inspired conspiracy theories for decades because of the puzzling condition of the bodies, scattered with severe injuries and some were unclothed, and the absence of a clear-cut cause of death. Now a pair of scientists based in Switzerland have presented video evidence collected on site that bolsters the idea that the tragedy known as the Dyatlov Pass incident occurred due to a slab avalanche, which is a special type of deadly snowslide that can strike on low-angled slopes. Alexander Puzrin, a professor of geotechnical engineering at ETH Zurich, and Johann Gaum, head of the Snow and Avalanche Simulation Laboratory at École Polytechnique Fédérale de Lausanne, first pinpointed a slab avalanche as a potential cause of the deaths in a study published in 2021. The intense media coverage of that research, combined with equally passionate pushback from skeptics, some of whom did not believe such avalanches occurred on the pass, inspired the researchers to follow up on their hypothesis with trips to Dyatlov Pass, which is named after Igor Dyatlov, the lead mountaineer that died on the route. The latest of these trips took place just 2 months ago in dangerous conditions similar to those the night of the incident, and resulted in the first video evidence of recent slab avalanches on the pass. In the year since publication of our article, we helped them to organize 3 successful expeditions to the Dyatlov Pass, Puzrin and Gom said in a study published on Thursday in Communication, Earth and Environment. The direct evidence from the Dyatlov Pass area obtained in those expeditions confirms that the region is avalanche prone and that slopes above the location where Igor Dyatlov and his group pitched their tent are steep enough for avalanches to release, the team continued. Independent research by Russian Snow and Dyatlov and climate scientists supported assumptions and the main results of our slab advanced modeling. The new research demonstrates that slab avalanches occur in the same region and under similar weather conditions to those experienced by Dyatlov and his companions on that fatal night of February 1, 1959. Though avalanches have long been discussed as a possible cause of death for the group, questions have been raised about the odd injuries on the bodies, which did not neatly fit with typical avalanche trauma, the shallowness of the slope where they died, and the lack of any sign of snowslides by the rescuers who discovered the bodies. Indeed, much of the fascination with the Dyatlov Pass incident stems from the weird state of the group's remains, which were found in various locations downslope from where they had pitched their tent. 4 of the hikers had severe chest or skull injuries. 2 were missing eyes, 1 had lost a tongue, and some were naked. The eerie nature of the corpses has led to their deaths being variously attributed to an infrasound-induced panic, animals, attacked by yetis or local tribesmen, katabatic winds, a snow avalanche, a romantic dispute, KGB CIA secret activities, ballistic rockets, or nuclear weapons testing, according to the new study. In their 2021 study, Puzrin and Gom argued that slab avalanches could provide an answer to the mystery while satisfying most of the oddities surrounding the death. Slab avalanches happen when a slab-like layer of snow is positioned on top of a weaker layer, creating dangerously pent-up pressure that can be released by a relatively small trigger. The researchers suggested that the pitching of the tent might have set off a fatal chain of events that eventually led to a slab falling on the sleeping hikers, causing severe trauma on some of them and prompting the rest to run into the night without proper gear, where they ultimately succumbed to the cold. In addition to the recent video evidence, the new study presents results from expeditions in the winter and summer of 2021 that counters claims that the slopes of Dyatlov Pass are not angled enough for avalanches. The summer trip revealed that the terrain is covered in natural step-like drops on meter scales that could produce a slab avalanche, even though the broader slope appears deceptively safe under snow cover. These hidden features may have contributed to the experienced group's false sense of security in their camp location. The steps have inclinations exceeding 28 degrees, and many slopes are even steeper than 30 degrees, notes the study. What's more, these slopes are not just local, they are continuous. No matter where you pitch your tent, you are likely to be below one of them. The 2021 winter expedition also produced tantalizing hits of slab avalanches just a few miles from Dyatlov Pass, prompting Puzrin and Gom to organize a 3rd expedition. On the 28th of January 2022, exactly 63 years after the Dyatlov group was seen alive for the last time, 2 professional mountain guides from Ekaterinburg, Oleg Demyanenko and Dmitry Borisov, left for the Dyatlov Pass on 2 snowmobiles, said the researchers in the study. The initially favorable weather conditions quickly deteriorated, with wind and temperatures becoming similar to those on the night of the 1959 tragedy. Several times the 300-kilometer snowmobiles and their drivers were overturned by wind gusts, they added. Visibility became extremely poor, and then, When after a few failed attempts the two mountain guides approached their destination, the visibility briefly improved and revealed traces of two snow slab avalanches. Timoyenko and Borisov documented the remains of these avalanches and observed them vanishing under the snowfall within about an hour of their discovery. No wonder then that the Dyatlov rescue team could not find signs of an avalanche 3 weeks after the incident, noted Puzrin and Gom. This also explains why no avalanches have been observed there before. In such severe weather conditions, the pass cannot be easily accessed by hikers, while traces of small slab avalanches disappear within a few hours. The new research corroborates the team's previously published models and offers a robust account of the horrible events that befell Dyatlov and his companions all those decades ago. Though Puzrin and Gom stop short of claiming that the mystery has been solved, they end their study with a sphinx-like sentiment befitting of the eerie tragedy at Dyatlov Pass that has captivated so many people. Quote, time and again, we were asked whether our article brings to an end our work on the case. We always responded that although the case itself remains open, our part is closed. We did not want to spend the rest of our lives trying to solve the Dyatlov Pass mystery. 1 year later, we are no longer so sure. If someone asks, we will refrain from an answer. End quote. So, there you go. Why not? You know, it's true. I've heard just about everything, like Yetis, the people, the tribes people that lived in that area. I mean, UFOs, ETs, but nobody's ever come up. But why not? I don't remember exactly. Like they said, one of the things that's interesting about this is the different injuries. Like one lady had her tongue out, cut out. I don't know how that would happen as part of the avalanche, but I'm willing to entertain it. Why not? All right, guys. I hope you liked this last few. I'm going to admit it. I'm behind on my news. This last edition of Eerie News, and I will be back soon with all that's going on in our weird world. Till then.